standing in the middle of my bedroom and I think, I truly don't want to be here, and I think my kids would be better off without me.
The majority of the clients that I work with, they believe they're broken. If you believe that this is the best you have to offer and you're not capable of any more than that, how do you accomplish more?
There is a reason why I have certain reactions, and it's not just because I'm broken.
If another woman is listening right now, what would you want her to know?
Very few people actually truly understand what being neurodivergent really means. These are the things that we're going to discuss to help you get answers that you're looking for.
Erin, I'm super excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
And one thing I really want to know, you ready?
I'm ready.
I want to know, what is the one thing that you're really worried that I might ask you here today on this podcast?
Okay, well, shit. Okay, well, as a ADHDer, I don't really have any questions that are making me nervous, but if you give me any like constructive feedback, any negativity, say anything that might hurt my feelings, I will cry. So just keep that in mind.
Well, I am not going to do that. What will you do if I give you lots of compliments and tell you how pretty you are?
I will probably also be very awkward.
Okay.
And also cry a little bit, probably.
Oh, well, we don't, so no crying. So I won't do that either. Okay, it makes my job easy. I'll just read. Well, just real quickly, just a real brief interview. Will you just tell our audience who you are?
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So I'm Erin. I am originally from San Diego. Grew up there, went to San Diego State. I moved to Arizona when I was 24. I was having a really fun time during those days. I was hanging out in Mill Avenue. And
if people don't know what Mill Avenue
Yes.
is in Arizona,
I was
it's like
hanging
college
out,
town.
Yes, I was hanging out in College Town.
She was one of the Mill Avenue
I
girls.
was, yeah, and like the Sandbar girls, so
Oh!
like original Mill Avenue.
Get
yes,
out.
Yes. So
My opinion of you has not changed.
Okay, good. It should actually be better now.
It
that
is.
It's
It's
that I
better.
shared that, yes. So I met a really cute 6'7" bouncer.
6'7".
Yes.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'6"
Stand up.
on a good
Stand
day.
up. Oh, yeah, you are. I think, actually, sit back down. You're taller than I am. Oh, but I have heels on. Okay, you're taller than me. That backfired. Okay, but he's 6'7".
Yes. So
Okay.
6'7", and I got pregnant. And
Okay.
it completely changed the trajectory of my life. I had my son, and it was just me and him, and still is. And yeah, I had my son, and then I got into my current career, which is cosmetic tattooing. I met my ex-husband. I had my daughter, who's going to be 9, and yeah, I mean, I got back into my business, and yeah.
And you've gone through a divorce somewhat recently,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
How long has that been?
That was about 3.5 years ago.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so single mom to 2,
Yep.
business owner.
Yep.
Okay. This is all good, right? This is
Yes.
we're gonna talk, we'll dive into this a little bit if
Yes.
you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
Okay, but before we do, since we're here to talk about you, but also ADHD.
Yes.
Okay, so when did you first realize, because I know there's a story there,
Yep.
that ADHD might be a part of your journey?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, my mental health journey started a long time ago. And I think there's things now that I'm discovering that actually started my journey even earlier than I thought my journey started. But my journey started with mental health in general very early. And so I have struggled with my mental health and essentially just figuring out who I am since ever I can remember.
Like, are you talking about like your teenage years?
Even earlier. So I have something called trichotillomania,
Will you tell the audience what that is?
Yes. So it is basically a hair pulling disorder. So a lot of people pull hair, lashes, brows. I had the fun side of it where I would like put it in my mouth and like eat it, which is really gross now saying that out loud. But
it was fun then.
It was fun then.
Okay.
But my mom I was bald until I was like 2 because anytime my hair would get long enough to like put in my mouth or pull, I would pull it out.
At 2 years old?
At 2 years old.
Okay.
Yes. And I really struggled with that. And, my mom, her generation, it's like, what is wrong with you? She would put Tabasco on my fingers. She would put lemon juice in my hair. She would yell at me, stop touching your hair, stop pulling your hair. I'd have bald spots. So I started with that early. And I actually, not one doctor until my mid-30s, I'm 41 now, not one doctor until my mid-30s actually told me this is what you have. And essentially, it's just kind of like a physical tic, so to speak.
Sure.
And so I have been diagnosed with so many different things over the years. Because of my trichotillomania, it started with OCD, then depression, then anxiety, bipolar. I mean, you name it.
And you're taking medication
diagnosed.
for these things?
I was, yes. So, when I saw my first therapist and doctor, it was when I was 17. I had an aunt who I was very, very close with, and she passed away tragically in a car accident. And I found out when I was in the dorm room in college, and I went home. I was only about 30 minutes from home, so I went home, and that situation that happened kind of catapulted me into a pretty unhealthy lifestyle.
Sure.
I just didn't know how to cope. And, our parents, that generation, they're in their 70s, it's like if you're not bleeding or dying, you're fine. Get it together. But to answer your question, so I've been kind of dealing with my mental health stuff for a very long time. And it wasn't until I had 2 kind of big issues kind of come up, things happen that really made me step back and say, I have to figure out what's going on with me, or I'm not going to survive this.
What do you mean by survive this?
I had my first suicide, not attempt, but the first time that I genuinely thought, and this was about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, but I genuinely had a moment, and I can see it clearly. I'm sitting in an empty apartment. My kids are at school, and I'm crying. I've been crying for days. I don't know why. And I'm standing in the middle of my bedroom, and I think, I truly don't want to be here. And I think my kids would be better off without me. And
that's a scary place to be, right?
It's so scary. And again, like, I say the stuff about my mental health history because I'm not new to trying to advocate for myself, to try to be self-aware of my mental health issues, to be open to trying medications. Like I said, I've tried it all over the years. And I got to a point about 4 years ago where I kind of got off of a lot of meds that I was on because I just knew it wasn't right. I stayed on Prozac for my depression just because I've been on that since I was 17, and there was really no reason not to be on it. I have no side effects. So maybe about 4-ish years ago, I got off all the meds that I was on because I just wanted to figure out what was going on. And so from about 4 years ago till now, I've probably seen maybe 6 to 8 doctors, multiple therapists, gone to many coaching type sessions and groups. And I never felt like I connected with what they were saying to me. It's like, oh, well, you're extremely depressed. Here's these meds. And I'm like, I can see that I have depression, but what you're saying doesn't speak to me. Like, that doesn't feel like what's really happening inside of me. But I didn't know what ADHD was, to be honest with you. So I didn't have that to kind of be like, well, could it be this? I really, truly had no idea. So this is someone who's very, I would say, in tune with myself, in my body. I'm very self-aware. I try to be very self-reflective, and I'm sitting there in an empty apartment thinking, I don't want to do this anymore. I think my kids would be better off without me. And you know this, but not a lot of people know this, is that is a very scary, strong feeling considering my son's dad passed away a few years ago.
Right.
And so I am his only parent. And so to get to a point where I'm so low that I truly think orphaning my son would be better than me being here was so scary.
Especially because the audience doesn't know, even though he's a teenager, the two of you are actually very close. He's not a rebellious, difficult teenager.
No.
You and him are very, very close.
100%.
Right.
Yes.
And you're still feeling this way.
Absolutely.
And what's your explanation for that now? Are you able to make sense of how you got to that point, and are you still there?
Yes.
Sometimes life can feel like a lot for a lot of reasons. Maybe you're feeling forgetful, overwhelmed, or even frozen. It could just be life with 7 kids, probably is, or it might be ADHD. Either way, I created a free guide to help you sort through all of that so that you can take the next best step. Download it at jheriself.com or click the link in the description. Now, let's get back to the show. Go away. Go away.
I've done so much reflection and, so much research now. It took right around that time. I was like, if no one's going to help me, I'm going to help myself. I got online. I started taking different assessments. I started taking different quizzes. And I knew what you were doing because I had started to kind of see your videos and stuff. But even then, the term ADHD, I'm thinking the typical, child type of ADHD misconception of, they can't sit down, they're crazy, they're hyper, yada, yada. So that didn't even come to mind. Right. And so it literally took me sitting down on my own and starting to do these assessments. I got a hold of the actual ADHD assessment. It starts with a C. What's it called? Connors or something? I don't know. But there's some assessment that technically is the one you're supposed to take. And it came back and it was like, off the charts,
you're off the charts.
You really
ADHD.
fucking have ADHD. Yeah. It's like, here's the chart and here's you. Right. So I was like, okay, this might be it. And then it's like, things start happening. The algorithm kind of picks up on this. I start to see your videos more and I start to start seeing some research and then it spoke to me. Like, it was like, this is who you are. This is what the issue is. And it was just so eye-opening because, to go from a place of, I want to kill myself to hopeful was, I didn't expect that. Like, I didn't think I would be hopeful to feel normal ever. Because, I've gone 40 years thinking I'm broken and thinking I'm the problem and nobody likes me and I don't fit in and I'm not good at my job. And so to just have that realization of like, you're going to be okay was, you can't even describe it unless someone's had that experience of like, okay, I can do this. And I just remember having a conversation with my son of, I think I have this thing called ADHD and I'm doing a lot of research and it's really kind of speaking to me. And like, I was kind of talking to him about it. And my son is the kindest, sweetest human. He is so empathetic. He is spiritual. Like, he's just the coolest human being ever.
We don't know where he came from.
I don't know where he came from. I don't know.
He is you.
Yes,
but he's
better.
just an amazing
Yes,
teenager.
He is. Like,
yes.
I truly feel like he's some sort of like angel on earth type of thing. So, and he kind of, in the nicest way possible, was like, yeah, that sounds about right. And I'm like, oh, okay.
And your RSD is triggered.
Yes. And I'm like, sure,
it.
read it again. Okay. Read the checklist again. See if that really sounds like me. Okay.
Correct your answer and come back.
Yeah. So that moment was when I truly was like, I need help. And so right at that moment, and I've thought a lot about this, but thinking back to my childhood and stuff, my mom and my sister have that very kind of typical ADHD type tendencies. My sister was the one who, my mom always had to go pick her up from school. The teachers would always say that they had to glue her to the seat. My mom and my sister would cry every night over homework. And so even from a very young age.
So you were the healthy one.
I was the good one. And I had to just do my own thing.
Your mom and your sister are having all these mental health issues.
Yes.
And thank goodness you're
screaming at each other.
healthy.
And I'm
Yes.
over here just doing my work and doing my thing. And I kind of had to learn early on, you kind of have to do your own thing. You're fine. Like, you're the one who's good. So you're take care of this. And so I think that's where that internal kind of turmoil starts is
Yes.
I do have this chaos going on in me, but I have the type of ADHD where it's a bit more internal, inactive, or what's it called?
Well,
It's kind of, but yes. So like that.
sorry, I was thinking about something. So sorry, I was trying to think of a different title when you asked me that. You're talking about inattentive.
Inattentive,
Yeah.
correct. And that's not something I haven't even seen that term and since I till I started
Well,
talking
that's
to you.
what's so fascinating is that even within families, ADHD can look so different. My sister and I
Yes.
are that way too. So one question I have, and by the way, thank you so much for being willing to be vulnerable and share that.
Yeah.
I sometimes think we don't give ourselves enough credit to be able to sit here
Yes.
and say, I need help and I want to get help. That's a huge amount of progress when
Yeah.
we're in a hole that deep.
Yes.
So I hope that you celebrate yourself that way and recognize.
I'm starting to.
Good.
I'm
good,
starting to.
Good.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. Because you're your cheerleader. You always have been your own cheerleader,
Yes.
right? So it's important that you're good at being your cheerleader.
Absolutely.
So as you look back, it sounds like there was a lot of misconceptions that you had about ADHD, but if you could highlight what was one of the biggest misconceptions that you had about ADHD that kept you from really understanding that this might be what you're dealing with?
I think it was more the physical aspects of like the misconceptions that if you have ADHD, you're the one who's, running around and starting fights and throwing sticks at kids and, you're not listening to your teacher and you can't perform in school. And that wasn't me. Now, don't get me wrong. I had a really tough time in school, but I kept it all in here. And so this whole internal organized chaos started in my head very early on. And so that misconception to me of seeing my sister who was loud and always in fights and always, and I wasn't like that. But it wasn't until very recently that I really sat down and thought like, I had all that going on. I just kept it in here.
You were masking.
I was masking. And so, you think about how many people with ADHD also have, additional mental health issues, depression and anxiety. It's like, well, yeah, no wonder. It's like you're masking all these things. You're holding them all inside for someone who already has 18 squirrels going on in their head at once to then feel like, all right, I'm doing this on my own is challenging.
It's overwhelming.
It's so overwhelming. But then you start reading more into it and it's like, well, and my mom, it's so funny. I had a really cool conversation with her yesterday and I was like, I'm pretty sure you're ADHD too. But she was like, I never thought that you were like your sister because she's like, you can go lay in your bed all day long. Like you were the lazy one. And I was like, okay, well, I wasn't lazy per se, but I had so much always going on in my head. And still to this day, when I feel extremely overwhelmed, I get this paralysis. And I've never heard anybody talk about that until, some of your videos and like Dr. Dotson's videos of the idea of like morning paralysis or even just like paralysis in general with ADHD, where you're so overwhelmed that you physically and mentally cannot do certain things. And so, and I vividly remember even as a child, I would go in my room, shut my door, and I would lay in bed for hours. Mind you, my legs were moving and I was picking and I was pulling and I was doing all these things, but I would lay in bed for just hours and hours and hours listening to music because I didn't know what else to do. I was so overwhelmed. And so for me, I'm like, there's no way I have ADHD. I'm lazy. I don't, well, I don't like to go to the gym. I don't like to hike, I can't have ADHD,
I'm not lazy. I just don't like working out and sweating. There's a huge difference.
So yeah, I'm like, my sister, yeah, she's crazy. She's ADHD. But now reading about it and looking into it, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. I always did well in school, but what people didn't see was I would be up until 4 a.m. doing last minute projects, crying, telling myself you're going to fail, you're not going to do well. It's like I would stay up all night, procrastinate, and do everything last minute. And then as soon as I turned in a paper or a project, I would feel sick to my stomach until I got an A back, because if I wasn't getting A's and wasn't perfect, I wasn't,
Weren't good enough.
worth being here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you're talking about all of this and highlighting it, because it doesn't matter what age someone comes to me who has ADHD that's looking for help. We always start with self-confidence, because typically when someone has ADHD and they come to behavioral coaching, they're thinking, I want to learn to be more organized. I want to follow through, have consistency. I want some processes. And those are all great things to work on. But if we can't work through first the way that we feel about ourselves, we are just going to self-sabotage. It doesn't matter. And this is why ADHDers, if you've read books and listened to podcasts and you have picked up on different tools, but they're not working for you because your mindset is so important. If you have imposter syndrome, you don't believe that you can, you are broken, you haven't healed, then it doesn't matter how great the process is. We will not be able to follow through with
100%.
Whatever that is for a very long period of time.
100%.
And what you're talking about is exactly the issue with ADHDers. I'm always talking about children. I use this statistic all the time that by age 10, the average ADHDer will have heard over 20,000 corrective messages. Why can't you do that? She's doing that. Why aren't you getting up off of the couch and hiking, Erin? Right? How come you're lazy? And we don't know the answer to that.
Right.
I don't know. I guess I am lazy. Why am I just lying here? Why am I not getting my work done? Why did I say I would do it? ADHD teenagers definitely don't understand their brain. Most adults don't understand their brain. So there's so much damage done to self-confidence and what we believe we're capable of. So to your earlier point, anxiety and depression, the comorbidity rate with ADHD is so high.
So crazy.
60% likelihood you'll have one comorbid condition, 40% likelihood you'll have a second. But it's not that you can't have anxiety and depression with ADHD. Of course you can. You can have an anxiety disorder. You can have true depression. But a lot of the time, if we treat ADHD properly, and treatment can look like a lot of different things. It's medication in a lot of cases. It's not medication and only behavioral coaching. But when we get treatment, many times that anxiety and depression goes away because we've been doing so much masking. Trying to fit in, trying to just keep up, do twice the amount of work for half the reward, it creates depression and anxiety.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you throw on being a single mom, and having the pressure of, for like my son, the pressure of being his only parent. That pressure is so overwhelming. And with the RSD, I don't want to fail. I want to be a perfect parent, which, let's be real, there's no such thing. But, being my son's only parent, there's this pressure. And so I always have so many things going on in the back of my mind of, how to be that person and how to show up that way. But it's like when you, in your mind, genuinely think that you are not a good parent, not a good person, not good in school, like when you have those beliefs and you have ADHD, not only do you believe that you're not good enough, but if you get any inkling of negativity or feedback or even constructive criticism, it's, yep, I suck. I'm done. And so even as parenthood and as a business owner, it's been so challenging to keep going every day. And people don't see that struggle. They don't see that every single morning waking up of that conflicting of that conflict, that internal turmoil of like, I want to do great. I need to be the best. I need to be the best cosmetic tattoo artist. I need to be the best parent. I need to be the best girlfriend. I need to have the nicest things in the best house. But also at the exact same time, feeling so overwhelmed that you can't even get out of bed.
I'm so glad you brought this up. Let's talk about RSD for a moment. Okay, so for anyone that doesn't know, RSD is rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And RSD, in my opinion, is usually more debilitating than the distractibility when it comes to ADHD. It falls under that emotional dysregulation umbrella. So 1/3 of all adults who have ADHD say that RSD is the number one debilitating symptom. And it happens in women a lot, right?
I bet.
So before you knew, and we can continue to talk about what RSD is and what triggers it, but before we go any further in how RSD works, I want to know from you, before you knew about RSD, how did you interpret those intense emotional reactions? Because you don't know that you have ADHD. You don't know what RSD is. What are you thinking is happening? What's going through your mind?
Right. Well, not only am I thinking it, but I've been told. And I did call my mother yesterday to tell her, hey, Mom, I'm doing a podcast. And
And I'm going to be famous.
obviously you messed me up, so your name's going to come up a few times.
We're going to tell them
I'm
it's
gonna
all your
warn you.
fault.
I'm warning you.
I'm sure she can't wait to listen. Hi, Mom. Everyone listening is like, yeah, hi, Mom.
I definitely gave her a heads up. But, gosh, I love my mother. She's the second coolest human being after my son. But I was told from a very young age, you're too sensitive and you have too high of expectations. I've been told that my whole life. And when I feel really, really big, and back up a little bit, with ADHD, it's like we don't just feel really, really big things, but we kind of wait until the very last minute to then blow up with those really, really big things. Or we hold those really big things in because we don't want to be rejected anymore. And then we get to a point where we can physically not hold it in anymore. And then we have this big reaction. So I've always been like that. I was told you're too anxious, and again, when I was a kid, I had so I'm always pulling my hair, messing with my hair. I was told you need to relax. You're too high strung. You need to not expect so much from other people. The reason why you're anxious is because your expectations are too high. And
You're like, oh, let me go fix that.
yeah, okay.
Relax.
And you talk about failed marriages and stuff like that. That's where a lot of that comes in. But it's like I was told, and so then that was kind of my point of view is, you are just overreacting. The reality of the situation is not what's in your head. You're making it up. And your expectations are too high. Why are you upset that person said that to you? Your expectations are too high. You need to lower your expectations. Well, that was a you problem. That's not what they meant. You need to calm down. So I have always just assumed that I am sensitive. I overreact. And my expectations of others are too high, and myself are too high.
And so
That I'm
then-
not realistic. I was told that a lot.
So then how are you then projecting that mindset into your life, your relationships, the way you run your business, the way you parent? What's happening?
I mean, of course, now looking back, hindsight is always fun to interpret. But, looking back, picking relationships that I knew would fail. Because I didn't want to be blamed for the downfall or the end. Picking bad relationships is a huge one. Not putting myself in positions where I could potentially succeed and, find my true passion, purpose, potential, because in my mind, I was always told that it wasn't realistic. I couldn't get there. I'm too much of a sensitive person. I have too much anxiety. So, and even now it's, like I'll express to like my parents, something like, hey, I'm going through a lot. And even my mom's like, you just need a 9-to-5 job. You're doing too much. You're expecting too much. You just need to just come down here. You just need a 9-to-5. You need to, have less on your plate. And so you start to tell yourself, I can't do all these things. I don't have it in me to juggle all these things. Maybe everyone's right. I am too sensitive to be a business owner. I am too disorganized to be a business owner. I can't do those things. And I truly, when I kind of hit that breaking point about a year ago, a big reason why I knew I had to get help was, of course, my children, but also my business. I got to a point where I couldn't text clients back. I would have horrible anxiety about going into work because even after being in the industry for this many years, I thought I suck. Why are people paying me money to come see me?
And so the audience knows she's actually phenomenal at what she does, and she's trained most of the artists in the Valley that do the same work. She's actually really, really good at her job.
Thank you. But yeah, just
it's true.
I had to borrow money from my parents. I was going to close my business down. This was not this past June, but the June before. I was because I had gotten to a point where in my mind I had told myself, you can't do this anymore. The reason why you're failing as a business owner and as a parent is because you're expecting too much and you can't handle it and you're too sensitive for this kind of job. And then you learn about RSD, and it just completely opened up my eyes to the why behind my behaviors and my thoughts and my actions.
What struck you first when you heard about RSD and you heard the explanation? What were you thinking?
I mean, and honestly, and I'm not just saying this because we're in a podcast together, but like you and I during one of our sessions, and after we had kind of talked a little bit about RSD, and you kind of looked at me and you were like, that's normal. Like, I've felt that too. Like, look at me, and I feel that too. And that like realization that I'm not broken, that this is actually a very normal thing to deal with ADHD, just that realization and validation from you, I felt truly like a new person. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I've told people, I kind of feel like I'm going through this like 12 steps of like addiction type thing, that I'm like, I'm new again. Like, I can start fresh and start authentically and be me and not feel bad about it anymore, because there is a reason why I deal with things and have certain reactions to things people do or say. And it's not just because I'm broken and my expectations are too high and I need to lower myself. No, I can now be all of me, which I've seen throughout the years, and clients of mine who've seen me for a long time,
It's giving me chills.
Yeah.
Just so you know, that's so powerful right now in the room. Like, it's actually making me emotional that you can sit here and say that. And I think probably most of our audience, and I didn't mean to interrupt, needed to hear that.
Absolutely. I mean, it truly felt like, and I think we talked about this, but I got to a point where I felt out of body. I felt like I was in a cloud. Like, I could feel myself doing things like driving, and I felt like I was watching it. Like, I was so out of body, and I almost felt like it came back together. Like, I was whole again. And I didn't know what that meant for the next steps, but for the first time in a very long time, I was excited again. And
you've never shared this with me before. So
I mean,
I'm like hearing it for the first time. It's really making me emotional.
And I mean, even clients, they're like, you're posting again and you're smiling again. And I'm like, I feel good again. And people are like, I have been through a lot, and you know this, but, within the last 4 years, my son's dad died tragically. The funeral was the same day that my sister had an emergency hysterectomy for cancer. I can just go on and on. It just didn't stop for me. And so even too, like, there was a point where one of our sessions, you were like, well, can you think of kind of where this came from? And I was like, no, life's great. Like, I love my boyfriend and my kids are doing good. And you kind of looked at me like, really, Erin? And
because she always has this smile plastered on her face.
Yes.
Everything's great.
And
it's
like,
such a pretty smile.
I go home and I'm like, you're right. I've had a really tough last few years, and that's okay. And so I truly felt like I'm never going to feel like me again. And I know that sounds so like elementary, like it doesn't sound very deep, but the idea that I can be me again and embrace these differences and challenges as a learning and an excited like adventure versus I'm broken has been extremely life-changing. I honestly don't remember your original question, so I hope I answered it.
Whatever it was, you gave me a way better answer than I could have asked for. I am blown away. Honestly, I'm blown away. As you're sharing all of this, I'm wondering, because honestly, you're still in the middle. This
Totally.
is still very
I'm
raw.
at the beginning.
We've just started the 12 steps of ADHD
started the 12
healing. We're going to
steps.
call it that.
Yep.
This is good.
Yep.
So you're like giving me business ideas. This ADHD entrepreneur here. But what's one way that you've started to give yourself compassion when you spiral? Because just because you know what RSD is now and you can have some perspective and awareness and understand wiring is different than personality,
Totally.
right? We're still going to spiral
Totally.
with RSD. So what's one way that you're giving yourself compassion when that happens?
Almost like allowing the spiral to happen. I feel like when you're told for so long, stop, get it together. You know, like I've been told so many times, your life is so good. What do you have to complain about? What are you depressed about? Your life is so good.
Who still says that?
I was told this a few days ago.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well,
yeah.
did they ask you if you were pregnant too? Who's still asking
Probably.
questions
My
like that on the
doctor.
street?
I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like almost allowing yourself to say, yes, I can spiral about this. However, I'm not going to let it negatively affect my entire day. I'm going to give myself an hour to spiral. And I've almost kind of created these like affirmations for myself of what's the worst that's going to happen from this? Was this truly about me or was I just triggered? You know, is this truly a real feeling I'm having that I need to explore? Or am I just having a tough time and I need to kind of spiral and get it out? And so kind of even just internally or out loud saying those things while I'm spiraling, you know, as a woman, these things tend to get very exasperated. Number one, when we start perimenopause, which, hello, here I am.
We got to talk about that.
And number two, you know, during your cycle. So, you know, I'm on my cycle. I'm already feeling pretty overwhelmed. And, you know, I had a bit of a spiral moment the other day. And I shut the door. I told the kids I need an hour. You know, I shut the door and I just cried for an hour and I just kind of let it out. And I just kept saying to myself, this isn't a you thing. This is a feeling you're feeling and that's okay. And feel that feeling, let it all come out, because I've found recently that if I just allow the feeling to come and pass, I get through it quicker. My feelings still get hurt. You know, it's like I had a client who had a complaint, and that would typically send me spiraling for weeks, to the point where I would think about, what am I doing? Should I just close my business? I mean, and that sounds dramatic, but truly that's where I get.
And you could have 100 reviews saying that you're
100%.
amazing.
100.
And one person makes
100.
a complaint and you should
Yes.
shut your doors and you're
Yes.
terrible at what you do.
And of course,
that's RSD.
physical. I mean, I told you I was sick this weekend. That's why. I was physically sick from this complaint, and it wasn't even a complaint. I'm being dramatic, but
You?
I know, no, not at all.
An
What?
ADHD?
Drama?
I
No.
didn't believe you.
No. But just kind of allowing that to happen and pass, and to remind myself that it's okay to have this feeling, and to remember that two things can happen at once, right? And this was one of the things we did together, is two things can be true at the same time. One, I'm upset and I'm hurt and this thing happened and it hurt me. But the other thing can also be true, that it really doesn't have a lot to do with me. And I can 100% keep living my life and doing what I was doing and still be all those good things at the same time.
Hold on. Can we give her a standing ovation? Twirl, because I have a dress on. You have to do twirl. I just want the audience to know she's had 2 sessions with me. 2.
Yep.
And we're not going to tell them what the first session was like, other than this is, Erin, I'm just so happy
Yay,
for you.
me too, girl.
And hopefully you know that when you come to behavioral coaching, it's still all you. You're doing the
Right,
work. All
yeah.
of your progress is you.
Right,
You have
right.
already come from here to here
Right.
in that short period of time.
Right. And I mean, that says a lot about you as well. So I hope you remember that.
Well,
but also,
thank you.
you know, I think my journey right now looks the way it does because, number one, I have gotten this new passion about advocating for myself, because I've truly sadly realized that many people, even though I might have a lot of support and love. There's not a lot of people out there who can help me, right? Besides me.
Right.
And, but I do think that my journey is looking a little bit different than maybe some other people who are diagnosed later in life, because I have had so many years of understanding that something was wrong, that I didn't feel right, and that these doctors were saying these things to me. And like, I could kind of understand, but I couldn't. It didn't radiate with me. And so, you know, to just have that sliver of a few things that I read and that you said to fully open my eyes to, yes, this is me. Having the ability to advocate for myself and that support has been monumental. Another part of me right now feels so sad for how many women don't have that, who are struggling to even get diagnosed, and they don't have the support. And I think about who I was a year ago in that setting in my room, you know, wanting to end my life, and how many women out there right now who are still in that spot. And that has lit a fire under my butt.
It's one of the reasons you're here today,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Being willing to share your story.
Absolutely. Because, you know, I see 3 to 5 women around my age, you know, a day, 5 days a week, you know, and I hear these stories, and I hear and see these women who are in this journey also. And it's not like I'm doing their brows being like, I think you have ADHD, but I'm,
but she is.
but I am, and judging the brows. But, you know, I see and hear these women, and we're all kind of going through the same thing. You know, we are all coming from this same, we all have the same types of parents where, you know, the 70, 80, you know, 80-year-old
she
generation.
means all of us older ladies.
Yeah, of us cougars.
Yes,
So we.
My husband calls me that, Erin. You're like hitting a nerve.
Yes, it's a good thing. Rawr, okay?
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll adopt that.
You need to really embrace it.
Yes,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
I can do it.
You know, it's like I hear these women and I see them and I hear their stories and how they're struggling and failed marriages, and clearly these women are hitting perimenopause, which exasperates anything you already have, right? It's like, and you read the statistics about suicide, women who are dealing with ADHD, undiagnosed with perimenopause, and suicide rates. And it's like, you have these women who are clearly struggling, and they don't even know where to start.
Well,
they don't have a Jheri, you know? They don't know where to start.
Well, they do now. But here's the thing. Most doctors I have found,
Nope.
at least around here in Arizona, don't understand this.
100%.
Everywhere from the pharmacies that I go to the therapists and psychiatrists, if you are going through menopause or it's that time of the month, they just give you extra stimulant medication.
They doubled up my meds.
And what we know is that your stimulant medication will not work if you don't have estrogen in your body.
Yeah.
And so you can take a whole bottle of stimulant medication. Definitely don't recommend that, but it won't do anything for you except for make you sick. So having a doctor, this is where it gets complicated, and you're going through this right now. So because there's some other medical things there I know that understands not only hormone replacement therapy and menopause and perimenopause, but also ADHD. And since according to Dr. William Dodson, who I highly respect, one of the best ADHD doctors in the United States, as of a couple of years ago, the statistic he gave me was that 93% of psychiatrists do not know how to properly treat ADHD in the United States. They are prescribing things that don't really work. They are not familiar with stimulant medication and proper dosing. They're capping things before we get to a proper dose. They're not including things like guanfacine or clonidine to treat RSD. I've learned so much from him just in the small time that I was able to learn with him about medication. And it is rare that someone comes in my office and they're talking to me about these things. Usually it's, what do you mean? I've never heard that before. And I am not saying this to toot my own horn, because everything I learned from interviewing specialists. I'll hear things like, I have learned more from you in 20 minutes than I've learned from the last 7 doctors. And I share that because that is a shame.
Since I was 17.
Need to do better in the medical community when it comes to, we look at neurodivergence and ADHD specifically, and then you as everything you've been saying, we overcomplicate it because we're doing things that don't work. Also, there's such a high comorbidity rate, and there's so much overlap to anxiety and OCD and even autism. And there's a higher likelihood that you'll have one of those things than you won't. It's missed all of the time. It's creating such a mess
Yes.
for mental health. And then one thing I just want to real quickly, you've already talked about what you've went through, but can you see in your life where I know you started going through things at a pretty young age, but do you believe that trauma had a huge effect on your ADHD symptoms?
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's doing the research lately and, understanding the genetic and environmental kind of toll that certain things play into ADHD and how it can kind of exacerbate symptoms. It's like 44% of people who are diagnosed later in life with ADHD had one or both alcoholic parents. 34% had some sexual trauma as a child. I had both. And so, it's like I was doomed from the start. But it's sad and hopeful. The hopeful part of that is, for me, I've dealt with anxiety, depression my entire life. The small conversation that we had to validate, yes, what you're experiencing is normal. I have had less anxiety symptoms, and I'm not on any new meds because my doctor won't. So I'm not on any new meds, but the amount that my anxiety has come down already from just understanding this is who I am and this is kind of what I need to do, and starting to learn tools to help me, my anxiety levels have gone down tremendously, and I'm not even medicated yet. So
That's great.
So it's so hopeful, but how sad is that from the age of, 17, when I first saw my first court-appointed therapist, until I was 40, almost 41 years old, that not one person had mentioned ADHD,
It's shocking.
It's shocking. And it's
because your
so
teenage
sad.
son knew you had it.
Totally. Like, he was like, yep, that sounds about right.
That's what happens. Okay, so I love that you have opened up about all of this, because I think there are going to be so many people that resonate with, and you've actually been through a lot. So there's a lot there that people are going to resonate with, and maybe be willing to now step out and get help because you've been willing to share your story, which is turning out to be a great success story, by the way.
I mean, I hope so. I feel so optimistic about it, which I haven't felt like that in a long time. Just being super excited about the future and getting passionate about my business, and just knowing that I can feel happy again while also bettering how I handle certain things in life. And I'm not going to be perfect. I know that,
You'll be pretty close.
I'm going to get there, but it's so exciting to kind of start this journey and see just the understanding and validation and grace that I'm giving to myself has made such a huge difference. And I think a huge thing that I'm kind of exploring and realizing is the amount of grace I've given to my younger self has completely changed my perspective on myself and my future. Like, I think about the things I've gone through and how I was as a child, and just, just my life. I've had addiction issues, and I've married the wrong people, and I've gone through abuse, and I mean, you name it. And to look back and say, that wasn't all your fault. Like, there was a reason why you were doing those things, and it wasn't your fault, has been life-changing.
You were given a different neurological system at no fault of your own. And no instruction manual, no tools, really no support and guidance to teach you. Like, if somebody just dropped a big piece of machinery equipment in front of me and said, okay, figure this out, I was just like, I can't do it, right? We're not going to tell you, just do it.
Right.
And I think the ADHD brain is just as complicated.
Absolutely.
And we're living in a world where they're telling us, do this, do that, you're lazy. It's
hard.
It's hard. And this is going to be so validating for people who are listening, because I would say the majority of the clients that I work with, they believe they're broken. And it's the reason they can't get out of the spiral on their own of addiction, of not performing at work, of unhealthy relationships. Because if you believe, it's the belief, it's not just the thoughts, it's the belief in here that was planted that this is the best you have to offer and you're not capable of any more than that.
Yeah.
How do you accomplish more?
You don't.
How do you go out and create what you're really capable of? And so, okay, I just have a few more questions. Are you good?
I'm good, girl.
How do you feel, or I guess I should say, are you worried at all about your children having ADHD after everything that you've gone through?
Worried? No. I feel after, it's so funny because I was talking to my mom, like I was telling you, I was talking to my mom on the phone yesterday, and I was actually teaching her about RSD. And
Oh,
yes,
she's your student. You're already teaching.
I'm teaching.
This
Because
is great.
you know, it's so funny. Like I love my mother. She's the coolest, kindest human. She's like my son. You know, like they're very similar in that sense. And she was kind of sharing stories. Like, does this sound like RSD? And she was like telling me stories about like her life when she was about my age. But understanding the genetic side of it, that you know, most people in my immediate family have some sort of similar neurospicy, you know, disorder. I know it's going to happen. I'm already seeing it in my kids. They're very different. So not worried at all. I'm expecting it. And I'm excited for them to be growing up in a society that is a little bit more open and non-judgmental about mental health, you know, issues. My daughter, you know, what's so interesting is my daughter's kind of the typical, like when you think about the typical
The
ADHD, hyperactive,
right.
yes. My daughter came out of the womb knowing who she was and what she wanted to do, which is so not like me. My son and I are people pleasers, you know, you tell me what to do and that's what I'm going to do. And, but my daughter, no, I mean, she was a vasectomy fail. She came whether she liked it or not. She's like, oh, you don't want any more kids? Here I come. Okay. And I'm coming out with a personality. So she's
the boss.
She'll be fine. I'm not worried about her. Yeah, she'll be okay. My son, I worry about a little bit, but worry is not the right word. I can't think of the right word to describe it because I don't ever want him to think that it's a negative thing. So I don't want to say I worry about him, but I do. It makes me a little sad that he may ever get to a point that I was at and not feel like he can ask for help. So
why do you think that probably won't happen, if you had to guess?
I mean, I'm sure I know what you're going to say, but
I just want to know what you're going to say.
Before I really went on this like journey of discovering who I was and like my mental health, I probably would have said he'll be fine because he's smart and he, you know, will figure it out. I do think now that he'll be okay because he has me and he has the relationship with me that I have, and because I now can help share the tools that I'm learning and discovering to better help him kind of navigate if he feels like he's dealing with any of these types of, you know, neurospicy things. I'm hoping that he can use me as a tool to kind of help him through that. We didn't have that, you know, like my mom was caring and nurturing and loving, and she didn't want us to be upset or hurt, but she didn't know. She didn't know what to say or do, you know? And so just for me, so much of my happiness about this journey is that one day I can understand and help my son if he is experiencing any of these things, which he's going to. I mean, he lost his dad tragically, and he's at 13 nonetheless. And so I am so happy about that part of my journey because I feel I can be there for him. And I feel proud of myself for cultivating a relationship with him that is very open and honest and understanding. And so yeah, I'm not worried about him. I'm a little sad. I think it's kind of human nature to feel sad that like, oh, I gave that to them, like I passed that on to them. But I kind of am starting to really see it as my superpower, right? So kind of like changing that narrative of like, this isn't a negative thing. This can absolutely be a positive thing as long as I learn the tools to work through that. And so even changing my narrative now in front of my children of if I'm having kind of a manic episode of changing how I'm explaining that to them and kind of turning it into a positive, like, well, the house is only going to get clean when I'm like this. So let's do it. Let's turn on the music really loud and make a game of it. And so I'm less nervous about my son specifically kind of going through these things and possibly down the road realizing that he has some of the, which he already does. But I'm excited to be able to be a better mentor for him through it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So what future possibilities excite you now that you are not just learning to accept yourself, but you're really starting to understand yourself and all that you potentially have to offer?
Let me say that out loud again. What do I find exciting for the future now that I'm kind of going through this journey? I would say the biggest one lately has been from a career standpoint. ADHDers make really great entrepreneurs, but it's also a lot harder for us. And I tell people this story all the time. People are like, how did you start a business? I was working full-time as a district manager, traveling to 3 different states doing sales management and training. I had a baby at home. I was going through a separation. I had my son, and then he was going through his, everything with his dad. And so I kind of look back, and me starting the business, my business that I have now, is kind of like a blur. Like, I don't know how I did it, but it's like the ADHD, like superpower of like, I got my mind on something. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. It's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of tears, but I'm going to make it happen.
No matter
what. And so I kind of got to that point. I got my business started, I got it off the ground. And once I hit perimenopause and a lot of these symptoms, I felt like I was masking a lot of my ADHD symptoms as a business owner for so long. I hit perimenopause and I physically and mentally couldn't mask them anymore. It became impossible to mask the brain fog, the confusion, the irritability, the mood swings, the paralysis I was having, and the inability to do multiple things at once, because as a business owner, I do tattooing, right? So as a business owner, a third of my job is tattooing, but the other 2/3 is everything else, the paperwork and the social media and just, everything else that is so boring.
Yeah, I can't even talk about it.
I can go tattoo all day long and have the best day in the world. As soon as I come home and I have to post a photo, I'm like, ugh, this is the worst.
No, I know.
But, I hit perimenopause and it completely derailed my business. And I felt such utter devastation. And just a quick story of, about 1.5 years ago, my lease was ending where I was at with my studio. And I said, I'm going to close down. I can't do it anymore. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I can't do this anymore. I can't even pick up the phone to call clients back. And again, unless you've experienced that before, I know that just sounds like a cop-out, but it's not.
And people who don't have ADHD will come out of the woodwork and say, just focus.
do it.
Everybody
Yeah.
feels like that sometimes.
know.
They just don't
Yeah.
understand.
But
And we
it-
have to be okay with that.
Yes, it got to, I cut everyone out of my life. I cut all of my friends out of my life. I cut family members out of my life because I didn't have it in me. I had nothing left in me to give to anybody else. I was barely getting through the day. Burnt out, overload. And so my reality now is so much more exciting because I got to a point where before I hit perimenopause and before I was unable to mask these symptoms, I had really high hopes from a business standpoint. I wanted to do more training. I wanted to open my own brick and mortar and have people that I trained and apprenticed work with me in a studio and just have this really cool place where women around our age can come and get a tattoo and hang out with people their age and not feel any ego or drama, typical tattoo studio vibes. And, I wanted to have a daycare and a coffee shop and like this big tattoo shop and it be like a millennial mom cool hangout, and I had all these crazy.
You are a cool mom.
I mean,
You
I
did try to create this
girl.
atmosphere. It was pretty good.
I tried.
Yeah.
My son will say otherwise, but cringe is what he calls me. But,
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. But the idea that I can do that again is really exciting. And part of my whole 12-step thing is being more vulnerable with my clients of, I'm so sorry I disappeared on you. I'm so sorry you wanted to make an appointment last year and I never texted you back. And I have clients who I'm sure left me because of it. But I think a lot of my clients have been so receptive and open to my vulnerability and honesty with them because let's be real and honest, how many women out there around our age are struggling with the exact same thing and just don't even understand it? So,
and it was the atmosphere also that you created.
Yeah.
That was the kind of clientele that you had.
Exactly.
Right.
Because you get what you put out there in the world. I believe that fully. And so to have this excitement of maybe I can do that again. I went from, I thought I was going to close my business last June. I had a friend of mine who used to work with me in a different life at Tilly's, who I was like, hey, are you guys hiring for a manager? I've done it all. I've opened $1 million companies and studios all around the world. And can I just be a manager or front desk supervisor? I don't know, but I can't do this anymore. And I actually got hired, and bless my friend who got me the job. And I started doing the paperwork. I closed down. I left the location I was at and said I was not going to tattoo anymore. And it was the night before I was supposed to go in for orientation. And I couldn't stop crying. And I physically couldn't fill out the paperwork. It makes me shaky even thinking about that moment. And in my heart, I'm like, what am I doing? This is not what I want. I've worked so hard to build a life and business for myself that I love. And I think I'm good at most days, I think, and I know I'm good at it.
You're very good. Yes.
But, it's what am I doing? And I didn't sleep that night. And first thing in the morning, I texted the hiring manager, I'm so sorry. I can't go through with this. I have to give my business another shot. And I tail between my legs, asked my parents for a loan, and got back into a smaller space and kind of started fresh again. And
here you are.
And here I mean, and I'm still in this space where I downsized. I'm working a little bit less because I truly had to make my mental and physical health a priority. I couldn't do it anymore. And so I stepped back for the last year. I'm working part-time. But it's so exciting to have goals again. Because I didn't. I mean, my goal was literally to wake up the next day. And so to now have long-term goals again, which is kind of hard for our brains, but to have long-term goals again and to truly believe in myself again, that I can do that, has been life-changing. Just saying it out loud, this is the first time I've probably said something like that out loud. And just that excitement is just, how do you even put that into words? How do you even,
It's
share
hard.
that? It's hard.
And what I was going to say is what you said is the most important thing. But the second most important part of that story is because you didn't give up. My eyebrows look really good today. Right?
mine
She
look.
tattooed my eyebrows. Where would I be without it?
I think I did your lips too, right?
Oh yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yes, you. But in all seriousness, I didn't
Yes.
need to take away from that because
okay.
I love what you're saying,
Yeah.
and it just shows how important, medication or not, the mind management side of this is.
Yes.
The behavioral coaching, the changing the way that you perceive things.
Totally.
Can I ask you just a couple more questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, then we'll wrap up.
Of course.
I want you to just imagine your kids as adults.
Okay. Oh. I was trying not
I
to
don't know
cry,
why
but
it's making me emotional. It's making me emotional.
I told you no crying.
I know. What do you think that they'll say that they learned by watching you handle these really difficult situations? What will they say about their mama?
Oh, gosh. I hope they say that they are proud of me for staying true to who I was and staying authentic to who I am and not giving up. I mean, my poor son has seen me more times than not, balled up, in bed, on the floor, crying. And I've had to say to him, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm broken. I'm sorry. I can't be who you need. And I think my kids, whether I get this huge brick and mortar and Desert Ink Company turns into this cool thing in Arizona, and whether that happens or whether I just keep doing what I'm doing and I'm happy, I think they will be proud of me. And I think my son specifically will say that he's happy that I didn't give up, because he knows I was close to it, And I hope that my daughter sees that she's not alone, because as a woman in this day and age, in this environment, but even just our generation as a whole, how we grew up, women were the back burner. Mm-hmm. And then our mental health, even more of a back burner, right? Physical health, it's not even a back burner. It's in the little drawer underneath, right? Like in the pot and pan drawer,
away,
right?
We lost the key.
Right. So I hope that my daughter sees that even in an environment where maybe she has to work harder to advocate for herself, that she can do anything she wants, and she can do it well. Mm-hmm. Whether she is seen as the crazy kid or the weird kid or the ADHD kid or, whatever it is, that no matter whatever goals and aspirations she has, she can get there. It might look a little different, but that's not a bad thing. That is a superpower. And I just don't want them to ever think that because they might be wired a little bit differently, that it's wrong or broken, or that they don't deserve to take up space in this world. Yeah.
And you believe that about yourself as well,
I'm almost there.
It's easier for our kids, right? But I'm hoping you heard what you just said. If
Yes.
it's true for them,
yes,
it's true for you.
Yes. Yes.
Last question.
Okay.
If another woman is listening right now, and I'm sure that she is, women, I'm speaking for you right now. I'm asking the question that I think you want to ask. Whether, she's sitting in her mess, she might be depressed, debilitating RSD, probably hormonal and confused.
Yeah.
What would you want her to know? If you could leave her with one thing, what would you want her to know?
You are worth advocating for yourself. No matter how broken you feel, no matter who you are, where you come from, rich, poor, I don't care. If you're struggling internally, you are so important, and you are 100,000% worth advocating for. And don't ever be afraid to be vocal about what you need and who you are. And don't ever be afraid to truly be who you are, because at the end of the day, that is all you have, right? Like, we have one life, I think, and I'm, 41. I'm in it. I'm no young buck, even though I think I am.
I think you are too.
This is it, right? Like, this is where we are. Life is so short. My son's dad died when he was 36. He wanted to open up a tattoo shop and he never got to. And life is so short. And so if you don't feel like you can be who you really are, there's probably a reason for that. And it's not because you're crazy. It's because we've been told that that's what it is, that we are too much, that we're too crazy, that we are expecting too much. So if you feel in your soul and bones that something's not right, physically, mentally, you are worth saying something and doing whatever you need to find the answers you need. And that might mean telling doctors they're wrong. And it might mean saying, fuck off to the people who are doubting you. And just don't let anything get in your way to find help, because you're absolutely worth it. Because when you are in the depths of it, having a diagnosis, being undiagnosed and going your whole life knowing that you don't fit in and that something's wrong, that is what brought me to wanting to kill myself. And I just hope and pray that hearing my story and seeing someone that I'm sure many of my clients and many people who know me are going to see this and be like, oh my gosh, we didn't know this, right? But I just hope that any of those people who are seeing this, who thought I was a normal, functioning, like I don't have any problems, I have it so good. If you don't feel right, you're worth advocating for yourself. And it might be ugly and messy, but to get to the other side of it, and I don't have all the answers. I haven't even gotten medicated yet. I haven't even found the medications that work for me, but to finally say, yes, this is who I am and this is what I'm dealing with, has saved my life. And I just hope that other women can find it in themselves to realize their importance in this world and find the strength to advocate for themselves, because no one's going to do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Erin, thank you. I just
You're
feel like
welcome.
you've just like dropped so many truth bombs here
So many
and
bombs.
so much vulnerability and heart. And your experience, I know, is going to help so many other people.
I hope so.
So thank you for coming here and just laying it out on the table.
Of course.
And hopefully in some way it actually helps you with your healing as well, because you are being heard and supported
So
now
scary.
by so many people.
I do have RSD, so don't say anything mean about it.
Well,
okay?
hopefully we'll get a lot of
No mean comments.
They
about 'em.
they could even just say, I support you, Erin. Like we all just support Erin, right?
Well, and even just, to hear other people, the few people who I've talked to, I mean, even clients, like I had one a couple weeks ago and it was like, she's like, I have this thing in the morning where I can't get going. And I'm like, I read about, I'm no doctor, but to see the realization in someone else's face who's in their 40s, who are like, that's normal? You have that too? You, Erin, who I come see you, you do my eyebrows, you seem to have it so together. You struggle with this too. And I saw in her eyes a brightness of like, okay, I'm not alone.
Right.
To just have other women say, I'm not alone, I'm not crazy. Well, I am crazy, but
The good kind
the
of crazy.
good kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So my boyfriend says, but to be able to kind of connect and have people say, that sounds like me, to get that motivation of maybe I should try to help myself a little bit, that would be amazing to just know that touched even just a couple people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
You know it's time to go when you have like a sweat mustache.
Totally. Or
Just
like right here on my forehead.
Yeah.
I have it here and here.
Yeah. Like once it's already like across the
Yeah.
whole entire lip, it's
Yeah.
like, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Thanks,
I
everyone.
didn't shave.